Well, hello there, I am Crimulus. It's been a while since you've seen me, probably. Maybe you've never seen me. Probably you've never seen me. I'm not a YouTuber, but I like to share things sometimes. And today, I want to share something that I don't see a lot of. Maybe someone else has already covered this and done some really cool things with it, but I've never seen it. And it's just been on my to-do list for a long time to build a thing in my world that's really cool using this technique. And at the same time, I happened to see Cubfan in season 10 of Hermitcraft with his sculk base. And I thought this would actually be a really cool thing for him to add into his base. And that is what I call chorus plant sculptures. Now, chorus plants grow, let's up the tick speed, pretty much randomly. But as it turns out, you can manipulate this to some degree and actually make shapes that you want. So let's kind of walk through how these grow. So it normally will just grow randomly, but you can actually add plants in places if you want. And they'll kind of sprout off and do different things with it using that randomness. So you can manipulate this and get shapes. One of them in particular that I wanted to build was a fence. And I thought, how can I go about building a fence? You know, if I plant like this, it just won't grow, right? But I can take this and, in creative, I can build that. Like that looks kind of cool, right? So how do I manipulate that? Well, it turns out this will only grow if there's nothing below it. So I can plant this here and it grows up like that. But I can then place a block under it and just move along the same way and just continue to manipulate this and build a fence. Let's just build this all the way around. One really important thing to note is you can't place blocks on top of here. It'll bust those out. But that actually gives me a good opportunity to show you what to do here on the corner. So I don't want this to grow up. As it turns out, if I plant a chorus plant here and it grows up, it'll break. See? But I can actually stop that. If I put a block above it, you need a block of space between where you plant the chorus flower and where it can grow. So if I plant this here, it's just going to die, right? Because it can't grow up, but it also doesn't break off. So this saves you, like in survival, the chorus flowers, they just disappear, so you lose them. But there's actually a cool trick here on this corner. I can make it grow out and then get my block that way. So now I have this fence and I can just continue this all the way around. For this one, we just plant here on the corner and we get our sideways growth. Then we put our endstone back, plant our chorus flower, it grows up, and keep going all the way around. So now to finish this out, we're just going to do that same manipulation. We're going to block one gap of air. We're going to place our chorus flower. It's going to die because it doesn't have anywhere to grow. But all we got to do is remove this block so it can grow outward. And then once it's done, we knock that out. And now we've got a little fence. And this is it's a super cool thing to play with. Keep in mind, you can't place anything above these. Now the fence is really cool, and that alone I think is useful. The only real downside is it has to be on endstone, which is not the prettiest block, but it can work. The biggest thing is you get a type of fence here that you just can't use otherwise. It's really cool to have this purple fence. But you can also sculpt plants. And there's a lot of places you can take this. I personally haven't even really explored it that much. There's not really a crazy amount of limitations even. But what you can do is grow a plant like this. Again, in survival, it's much slower. You have to sit and wait. But you decide what you want it to be shaped like. And let's say in this case, I want to make a cactus looking thing like that. I can do that right now. I've got this goal, maybe like a goalpost, and I can do that all the way around. Make like a little fork. Pretty cool. Now, one of the things that you can't do is go out 2 blocks. No matter what direction it grows in, it's always going to break off. But you can go up at a 45-degree angle like this, just indefinitely, maybe part the way up. Sorry, you can't do it. You can't have 2 horizontals touching each other. You can build one of the coolest things that I think is kind of like a wall. So you start with your columns like this. Again, this is in survival. It's a whole lot slower in survival. And there's a sort of technique you have to follow to get this based on the way that they grow. But I'm going to plant here, and then I'm going to put a block over this. And the reason is if I didn't have this block here, and it goes up, it breaks. But for some reason, if I place the block above it, it'll grow sideways, and then now I can actually place a block right on top of that if I want. I cannot place a block here for the same reasons that we just saw, but we can grow it outwards like that, and then just continue to go over like we're doing. Again, we have to, if we want to go over top of this one because of the auto breaking, we have to place a block above it here. But we can continue this all the way across like this. So we have this row. Now we can do the same thing again, repeat it. We're going to make kind of like a lattice. We can make like a lattice out of chorus plants. So we're just going to break off the ones we don't want here. I think we're actually going to keep this, right? Because we want that there. We don't want these ones sticking out that way. We don't want that flower. We do want that. And we're just going to fill in the blanks here. So put our manipulator block in. So now we've got this little shape. Again, place a block here. Get this outward growth and upward growth. So we're not going to be able to place one here. It won't let us even place it. So we actually have to break this one first and then place this block and then continue over like we were doing. But you can continue this upward and even around, right? So you want to get, if you get to a corner here, you can actually continue it. You're going to want the corner to be like that. And actually continue this around. Sorry, there's actually a certain order of operations you have to follow sometimes. So like this corner, I'm going to manipulate it by having it grow outward like this. Okay, now we can continue around. Again, we have to prevent that upward growth. But now we can the block, we have to grow here on the corner. We can't have this vertical. Again, we need our manipulator. And so now I can continue this growth around the corner, just like that. So this, I can't place a block in here. So the way I'm going to have to achieve that is place a block here, and I want it to grow this way. So I actually have to have a couple of manipulative blocks. So we're keeping it from growing all of these directions. So this is going to be a lot of time in survival, but at least it just dies on the vine. Eventually, it grows this direction, and now we can break out the pieces that we want and continue our process like we did. Again, if we want this block filled in right here, we need to block the growth above it and continue that all around. So that's a really cool use, but you can also make just really cool little like miniature decorations, something like this fork. You can, believe it or not, you can actually close this in. So I want to put my stoppers here, and I can place a block there. Eventually it'll grow outward. All right, that's a cool little like alien tree kind of thing, and it's totally doable in survival. It's a lot slower. That's the important thing to remember. It's a lot slower, but I really think this is a useful building technique, and I would love to see what you guys can come up with. I'm going to keep trying to create cool things, and I have a couple of things that I've made in my test world, but there's no need to show these here. I just wanted to share the technique, and I know I'm not the first person to come up with this. There's a video that I'll link below from a long time ago. The growth mechanics have changed a little bit, but I'll link it anyway. That video only has 150 views or so, and he actually had this idea a long time ago, and I've never seen anyone else use this to build, except in creative, right, where you can just place the stem, the chorus, the plant itself. But you can actually do this in survival, and If nothing else, hopefully this gives you an idea of something that you can build with and add to your world. I did try to share this with Cub Fan. I don't know how to get a hold of him. I don't really have to get a hold of him, but I do think little plants like these would look really, really cool in his season 10 base. So if someone happens to share that with him, that'd be awesome too. I don't need views on the video. I don't need subscriptions. I don't need any of that. I just wanted to share this with you, and I hope you like it, and I hope you found this useful. See you next time.